So this is some DNS stuff that we do here at Warner Performance that I consider is like absolute gold for our throwing rotational athletes. Volleyball, baseball, softball, javelin throwers like myself, like whatever it is, anything that involves rotation, shoulder health, this is absolute gold. So we have Tor here. That's going to be my little model for all the exercises that we're going to go over today. First, kind of like the most basic position that we go into when it comes to improving rotational pattern is, like it's a 3-month prone in the DNS world. 3-month prone is a position that a 3-month-old baby finds itself in to start normalizing breathing patterns, breathing stereotypes, and really establishing good intra-abdominal pressure. So we're going to have Tora start there. So Tora, bring your feet up in the air. So feet together, knees pressed out slightly, push knees apart slightly. Good. I like everything when it comes to like the DNS world, we want to make sure we're maintaining a really good intra-abdominal pressure. So we want 360 degrees of expansion within your torso. So make sure we're pushing out anteriorly, laterally to the obliques, and then posteriorly into the ground as well. So once we have this position established, we're going to bring our athlete into external rotation. Backside shoulder, like throwing shoulder, front side shoulder, this is important obviously for both. To give a little bit more isometric external rotation strength, we sometimes load a kettlebell onto the hand and tell our athlete, say, just gently push up into that kettlebell. So, and then front side shoulder wise, we have this guy is incredibly important. Pull your wrist towards you. Yep, so we have kettlebell underneath the backside shoulder, gently pushing up into it to get a little isometric external rotation, where we got front side shoulder and we got our feet up with good intra-abdominal pressure. So from here, one of the most interesting things I've ever learned in the DNS world is rotation actually does initiate at your upper half. Right? We initiate our rotational patterns by turning our front side ribs into our front side scapula. So Toro's going to keep his feet set right here and just gently turn his torso, his front, so right side of his ribs without moving through his hips, right side of his ribs into his right scapula. Yeah, if you can see, Tor is sort of like laterally bent, which is not a pattern that we want to see. So we want to see, so lift your butt a quarter of an inch off the ground and just gently, don't turn your hips, but just gently, yes, stay right there. Just gently rotating the right side of his rib cage into his right scapula. Tor, you feel your serratus? Yes. So in this position already, we're getting like incredible like serratus anterior activation. All right, from here, make sure to keep your butt up off the ground. So butt stays quarter of an inch, ribs stay into that scapula. You're going to slowly turn your hips into the side. You're going to slowly turn your ribs and your head all the way to the ground. So ribs stay into the scapula, hips slowly rotate. Head is rotating at the same speed as your hips. Keep going. And remember, gently pushing up into that kettlebell, keeping that back elbow loaded into the ground. Again, making sure that our athlete isn't shifting away here, right? And maintaining, push out the fingers here. Maintaining really good intra-abdominal pressure. Slowly turn back. You go a little faster. So let's go through that one more time. So butt sit. So 1, good intra-abdominal pressure. 2, we want good length from top of your head, top of your neck, bottom of your neck, ribs, pelvis, pelvic floor. Right? We want all that in a nice straight line. Set good intra-abdominal pressure. Ribs initiate movement. So right side of the ribs, if your left hand is loaded, right side of the ribs is turning into your scapula. Right? Serratus anterior should start firing. Much better. And then from there, your hips and your head are going to slowly rotate at the exact same time. Again, backside elbow loaded hard into the ground, hand gently pushing up to the kettlebell. Just stay right there for a second. So from here towards his right scap right now is on absolute fire. Right, rotator cuff, everything's on fire. Left side, front side serratus is loading. He's losing his hips. Abs are on absolute fire right now, yes? Yes. Yes. Head stays long. Turn even more. Keep turning. Turn. Keep turning. Good. Backside opposite is loaded to the ground. Right, and then slowly turn back from there. So building off of that previous 3 month with a little iso external rotation, hip rotation, right, we're gonna got a little bit more hip dissociation from there. Hip dissociation, when it comes to being an athlete, we need to be able to separate movement from one side of your hips and the other. If you're hitting, right, your front side hip should be stable, and that back side hip just rotating really hard, really fast into that front side hip without having your body kind of shift out of that front side hip, right? So be able to separate movement from that front side hip, back side hip. Incredible throwing wise, incredible hitting wise, hitting a volleyball, any sort of rotation. This is non-negotiable essentially. So same position. So we'll go get toward back into that position of external rotation, right? Slight resistance with the kettlebell. So feet come up in the air. So belly stays pressed out, right? Maintain good inch abdominal pressure. Straight line from the top of your head to your butt. Chin down more. Right arm out to the side. Again, rotation initiates right front side scapula or front side rib to that front side scapula. So don't turn through your hips. Just get those, nope. Don't laterally bend at your hips. Right, just gently get those ribs to turn. Stay there. Don't move through your hips. Stay there. So I'll give them a little assistance here. Stay right there. So if you can see, it's very subtle, but this little, turn a little bit more. This little assist really gets all this. He's like trembling right now, slightly in his pec. Okay, butt stays short of an inch up. From here, head and hips slowly rotate together. To the right, slow, 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 slow. Slow. Again, front side shoulder, front side rib staying loaded into the ground. Back side elbow, back side shoulder loaded hard into the ground, gently pushing up into that kettlebell. Okay, bend your knees a little bit. So from here, we're gonna establish a little extra support with the outside aspect of your femur. So Tora, load the outside of your right leg hard into the ground. Good. Belly stays pressed out, maintain that good inch abdominal pressure. Right, and then slowly reach your left leg back from here. Slow, slow, slow. Right, outside of that right leg stays hard into the ground. Back side of that right shoulder stays hard into the ground. Reach, reach, reach. So if you've ever been here, ever trained here, you know just how difficult this is. Tora, focuses up off the ground if you can. Yep, and then slowly bring that leg forward from there. You just slowly reach back and go again. So in the world of DNS, right, we take very simple ground-based positions or take complicated positions where you're upright, kind of bring them down to the ground and simplify the movement to reestablish these better movement, better loading patterns. Okay, reach back again. So again, front side shoulder, right, front side hip stays loaded into the ground, right, and we're going to separate that movement at that left hip, left leg from that right leg. If you can kind of look at this position, use your imagination for a second. If you think about what throwing looks like, right, this is very much a position that you're in when you're throwing. So go again, bring that left leg forward again. Good, and then bring it back one more time. So maintain good inch abdominal pressure, right, back side of that left shoulder loaded hard into the ground, front side of that right shoulder, ribs are turned into that scapula. Tora's cooking right now, reach a little further back. But you can kind of see here, as he reaches back to the hip extension in this left hip wants to kind of pull right to external rotation. If we kind of keep this guy turned in, reach a little bit further back. If you got a friend, you can easily have a friend give you a little like manual assistance here. Good, slowly pull forward from there. Good, that's a little bit clean. Go one more time. Go, go, go. See, even more hip extension, right? Maintaining more of a neutral position in this backside femur. Good, go forward one more time. Good, and then slowly come back to where you started. Forward, forward. So it's a little cleaner now. Good, and slowly turn back. Head turns with your hips. Okay, rest for that. Next position that I think is absolute gold for all your rotational athletes is sideline 7.5 month positions. This is essentially your forearm supporting, and then the positioning in your lower half is going to vary based on where I want you guys to get into within your hips and kind of like what the main focus is in terms of whether it's more shoulder focus, as in we're trying to dissociate movement of your scapula and your humeral head, or are we trying to focus more on being able to dissociate movement at your pelvis and then your femoral head? So based on what it is that we're focusing on, it's going to dictate where I put more of a focus. In the ideal world, you focus on both, but that's absolutely impossible unless you've got 3 eyes on you and 7 different people coaching you at the same time. And when you guys are obviously like on the road, if you're at home doing this stuff, you're not going to have that privilege. Okay, so we're going to start. All right, Tor's already kind of 7.5 month position. So we'll go very basic 7.5 month position first. We'll go 2 forearms supporting. So Tor, we'll go both forearms flat on the ground. Okay, and then so we'll start here. So you can either start with your hip 90 degrees. If you go like basic biomechanics real quick, the deeper you are, right, within your hip in relation to your femur, the more activation you're going to get within your glutes. This position, how deep we take guys is based on how well they can maintain positioning within their spine in relation to their pelvis right away. Tora has good hips. I've known Tora since he's 16 years old, so I know he's going to be good deep in his hips. Biggest thing for him, or setup-wise, right, you want to make sure both forearms are flattened to the ground. You want the position, so you want levelness, levelness between your ribs and your pelvis. Yeah, once you have this position set, all I want you guys to do, don't even lift your hips yet, just push away from the ground through your forearms, right? You can see the moment that Tora really starts initiating move, or that push away from the ground, he slides up, pushes his chest more through his scapula, which is going to drive more serratus activation. You kind of get this back, start turning off. Your right side oblique is going to really start firing. Right head, good job, to our head stays long. And then from here, just go lift up your hip a little bit more. Right, and you can see as he lifts up his hip even higher, he's getting even more into that better position between both left side and right side scapula. Things I love here right now, his hips are a little too far set off to the left, which is changing or inhibiting his ability to get into his right scap. So I'm just going to pull it back a little bit more. Good. And then we just kind of cue him a little bit, push his chest up into his ribs, really driving away from the ground. Here, your pec should be silent. Incredible, like, serratus anterior activation. Rotator cuff should be firing. Oblique is firing like crazy. Bottom side glute firing like crazy. Some guys, when they're in this position, forearms really start loading. Towards starting to drift away. So I'll kind of just pull it back ever so slightly. Once you start feeling yourself drifting out of this good position, kind of end it there. You're getting a little too tired. You're going to lose position. So here you can see right side scapula starting to move more. So Tori, just rest. And then normal position that you guys find yourself in, guys that have trained here, girls that have trained here, right? We set more of like a, not pure 90-90, but pretty damn close to like a hip 90-90. So same position through your forearms. And then we've obviously, you can play a lot from this position. So Tora, push away from the ground through your forearms again. Good. You can still see that that scapula isn't, and posterior ribs aren't necessarily sitting flush with each other. So I'm just saying, just lift your hips up off the ground. Getting a little better. And I'll just, if you're not sure what it looks like, obviously just do this in front of a mirror and just take a peek to see what's going on in your scapula. Push up a little bit more. Good. Beautiful. Okay, then from here we get pretty crazy. Not really crazy, but have some fun. And so from like a shoulder focused standpoint, stay up into the scap. I would say Tora, lift your left arm off the ground. So now push up more, and then in order to really help dissociate movement from the scapula and the humerus, I always got Tora rotate a little bit more around his right side shoulder. Turn, turn, keep turning, turn more, keep turning. So Tora is starting to like bend laterally instead of really just that. Aha, much better. Left arm's off the ground, right? Okay. An athlete that struggles with this, turn more, turn more. He's dying already. When an athlete really starts struggling with this, you can start seeing, if you rest for a second. If you're not really able to dissociate your scapula from your humerus, right, as you're trying to rotate into that front side, this is your ribs and this is your scapula. Your scapula starts pulling away, right? And we start getting that scapular winging that everybody really starts talking about. So in here, we don't really do scapular push-ups. We don't do anything like that, right? We either 7.5 month position, or if that's still too hard, got to bring you guys back down 5.5 month position to really engage, get all that musculature around that plays a role in your scapulohumerus, that dissociation relationship, right? Get all that stuff firing together, and then really start opening up posterior capsule tightness and really dissociate that movement. So you can, this is your humerus, this is your scapula, so you can really get this rather than this. So we'll hop back down into that same position. So now we'll be a little bit more provocative in that right shoulder. So 90-90, bring this leg behind, and then just bring your left forearm on, so bring your left hand onto your left hip to kind of take this guy out of the equation. So here we can really start seeing this scapula and ribs aren't necessarily sitting flush. So Tor, push away from the ground through your elbow. Push away more. Yes, so you can see how this guy, we're starting to get better. And obviously we can see like posterior delt, everything rotated across, everything is starting to fire, he's starting to tremble. Yes, lat stays long, pec stays relaxed, tricep is getting a little length through there. Oblique right now is firing, bottom side hip is firing. Yes. You can see you're starting to fatigue out already. Push away more from the ground. And push your chest through your scaps a little more. That. And now from here, this is starting to tremble. Right? Push through a little bit more towards me. Now slowly rotate. Slow. Keep turning. Head stays long. Keep rotating around that bottom side sky. So we can see how this here is tight, right? Keep rotating more. Head stays long. Keep turning. So again, I would say Tor could be one of those guys that falls under the umbrella of posterior capsule tightness. So turn even more. So this, I would say this is a bad position for Tor right now. You can see how this humeral head and scapula aren't really separating together. Tor, hop down onto your shoulder real quick. So to regress this position real quick, right, same positioning in your lower half. Right arm stays straight. Right, push away from the ground, chest comes through your scap. And then push away through the back of your right shoulder. Come towards me, and now slowly turn forward. Turn more. Push away more. Turn. Turn more. Head. Chin down, chin down. So again, he's starting to lose here. Push through. Keep turning. So although he's losing the connection between your vest. With Tor, we were able to see that as he was trying to rotate around that bottom side, he was kind of just drifting forward and losing that connection between, or he didn't really have the ability to dissociate movement at his scapula and his humerus, right? So hopefully I'll do a better job. Push away from that elbow, right? Keep your ribs up to your scaps, and then rotate and drive around that bottom side from there. Also, it starts letting up. And then open from there. So again, push away from that elbow, chest stays into your scapula, right? And then let everything rotate around that bottom side together. So the limitation there, although it might show itself at your shoulder, it could easily be happening at your hip. Tor, hop down here real quick. So from a hip standpoint, I'll slide up. I'll stay down here. Right, so from a hip standpoint, so although we were just focusing shoulder-wise, so lift up your hip. Right, so if this hip doesn't want to, if this backside hip does not want to internally rotate into that front side hip, so Tor, turn your torso, no, keep your hips where they are, and just try and turn around your bottom side. I'm going to say restrictions here. So I'm putting constraint on his ability to rotate right now, so keep turning. So if you're an athlete whose backside hip doesn't rotate into your front side hip, this is going to 100%, this could fire up oblique stuff, right, and you can easily fall into under the umbrella. Keep turning, you'll turn more. Your oblique is getting crushed right now, right? Yeah, so you're now going to be straining more backside oblique, and you can see how he's now falling away from his scapula. Everything's really starting to pull away. But if you open up this bottom side hip. So hip stays up. Now turn your left hip into your right hip more. As this hip actually starts rotating with his torso rather than being stuck behind. So a lot of eccentric loading here within this bottom side glute in order to facilitate the rotation of this back hip into his front hip. Push out more. Now turn more. Yeah, any sort of limitation here will inhibit your ability to rotate or control rotation here. So although shoulder problems might sometimes show themselves as shoulder problems, the base of the lack of rotation with the torus cuff could easily be happening at that bottom side hip. So get back down there. Sorry, buddy. So to turn this from a shoulder exercise to a hip exercise, or hip focus, so hip up. Again, we're going to kind of say, all right, I'm not going to care too much about what's happening at this bottom side shoulder, right? And just let the focus be driving this bottom side hip, maintain good intra-abdominal pressure, right? Drive this bottom side hip, top side hip around this bottom side hip. Rotate more. Rotate more. So to help facilitate this, take this bottom arm, reach it. People call this what? Threading the needle. Push up more. Yeah, basic threading the needle is cool, works, but threading the needle with a little bit more of like a DNS emphasis or attention to detail, push up more, push away from your elbow more. Push away more from your elbow. So he's cooked here. I'm cool with that as long as it doesn't bother the front of the shoulder, right? Reach even further with that left arm. Reach further. So as he's reaching further with that left arm, right, you can see how he's getting better rotation, left side into his right hip. Turn more. Turn more. Good? Yeah. And this is cooking right now. And this is cooking right now. Slowly turn back. Hip stays up, hip stays up, hip stays up. Right? Again, from like a little detail standpoint, we want to make sure this front side hip, so for Tor, his right leg, outside of his right leg, loaded hard to the ground, right foot stays off the ground. Right? So we're specifically getting that relationship of that left hip internally rotating around this bottom side hip. Turn again. Keep turning. Keep turning. Keep turning. So right now his glute is just getting tons of eccentric activation to help control this left hip rotating around this bottom hip. Stay there. We love this when it comes to like lower back stuff. When it comes to athletes that struggle with getting rotation or backside rotation into their front side, athletes that are dealing with some oblique stuff, we spend a lot of time down in this position. We love this position for you can see Tor is actually starting to open up a little bit. Posterior capsule tightness, serratus anterior activation. Yeah, it's just, this exercise can be a jack of all trades, and when applied properly and with good eyes, it's absolute gold. Yeah. And then let's just go from the front real quick. I recently started playing around with this for like athletes that struggle, like deep ranges of motion in their bench press, baseball players or pitchers that can't get that good initiation of rotation of their throwing shoulder or backside shoulder away from, or getting their torso to rotate away from their shoulder. Classic guy throwing, and instead of keeping the shoulder here, right, getting that rotation away, everything gets pulled together, right? Normal movement world or muscle world, you're gonna think, oh, pec tightness, da-da-da. So stretch your pecs, do this, do that. Like working with, actually like a high level, like power lifter, we were able to start kind of like piecing this together. Like got the wheels turning a little bit, and then it's kind of grown to the baseball world from there. But again, the same sideline position, right? So instead of just rotating over that supporting arm, right? I want you to keep your hip up and open up away from your shoulder. Open up. Keep opening. Keep opening. So, Tor's back is shivering right now. Open more. Push away from your elbow more. So we want to make sure, stay where you are. Yep. Good. Pec is lengthening like crazy right now. Open more. Open more. So you really want to open up away. Keep opening. See that? You feel oblique right now, Tor, yes? Yes. So oblique right now is loading absolute crazy. Pec lengthening like crazy. And you can think about hitting again for a second, right? Being able to keep this, or throw it, keeping this back arm set and turning away while keeping this. Josh Donaldson talked about this a couple years ago, so he was blue in the face, like loading his scapula. Keep your hip up. Right, loading your that loaded position in your scapula is just keeping that backside loaded and initiating rotation while keeping that back arm set. Right, if you can't do that, 99% of the time, the reason you can't do that, keep this hand loaded, is because instead of opening up away from your front side shoulder, open, 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 open. So this is brutal. Instead of opening up away from your front side shoulder, let your shoulder fall forward. So stay here. Your front side shoulder is going to get drawn forward, right? If that front side shoulder gets drawn forward, you're going to obviously like anterior shoulder stuff, bicep tendon stuff, bicep stuff, pec stuff, right? Extension stuff going on, right? And that's going to just absolutely change, your throwing mechanics. Oftentimes when it comes to like hitting limitations, swing mechanics, throwing mechanic limitations, right? They're often like movement limitations. So if an athlete can't open up away from their front side shoulder in the gym, in these basic ground-based exercises, they're not going to be able to get into those positions where you're asking them to hit baseballs coming in at 98 miles an hour or 88 or 78, whatever level of baseball that you actually play at. So Toro, let's go one more time. So hip up, belly stays pressed down. Right, show us what you're not supposed to do. So open up away, but let your shoulder fall forward. So shoulder falls forward as he's opening. This is turned off. You're getting no eccentric control. Your glutes is all just wearing on the anterior structure of your shoulder. So go hip up, push away, right, and now open up away from that front side shoulder. So now pec is firing eccentrically to help control movement out of that shoulder. Right, rotator. You're getting good opening here, front side of your shoulder. Open up more. Oblique right now. Push out more into my fingers. Oblique is firing left knee, front side hip, front side adductor complex working to help facilitate this initial movement, right, or loading of that shoulder. Open up more. Yes! So now this is starting to open up a lot more. Good, slowly turn back forward. Good, rest from there.